Hi, I'm Miles Holloman, and this is The Productive Retirement. In an earlier video, I discussed some of the constraints that we may face in retirement, but I didn't discuss the one constraint that we all face and that should drive a sense of urgency in how we think about retirement. That's the topic for today's video. Stick around to the end, and I'll share a simple tool that I've used to help focus my thinking about retirement. To explore this one constraint, let's take a brief road trip.
This is the Ocean View Cemetery in Port Angeles, Washington. The cemetery has a wonderful view of the Strait of Juan de Fuca, but is otherwise unremarkable. Most days, if there is not a funeral going on, you're likely to find more deer or caretakers than mourners. Raymond Carver, a well-known American short story writer and poet, active in the 1960s through 80s, is buried here, surrounded by the remains of numerous others. This, or someplace like this, is where many of us will end up. Others will have their ashes scattered, hopefully somewhere they loved during their lifetimes. And the bodies of a few unfortunates will remain where they died, unrecovered. But you get the point. This is how retirement ends. Thus, the time we have left is a critical constraint in retirement. This realization, though, drives a couple of questions. First, how much time do we have left? Later in this video, I will touch on the topic of estimating this time. Lifestyle, environment, family genetics, and luck all play a part, and any answer will be, at best, a very rough estimate, or swag. In 1977, Raymond Carver's doctor told him that he only had 6 months to live due to his heavy drinking. Carver gave up alcohol and proved him wrong, living another 10 years before dying of lung cancer at the age of 50. Carver described those years as gravy on his tombstone. I'd like to believe that he realized that each day was an opportunity during those 10 years. Which brings us to the second question. How will we use that time? Or, put another way, how can we use this unknown but limited time in retirement to our greatest advantage? So now for the bonus that I promised earlier. This is a simple tool that I use to focus my thinking regarding the one constraint that we all share, our eventual death. At the end of my last annual physical, I was talking to my doctor, and she was surprised to learn that I have a life expectancy timer on the home screen of my phone. I've just never heard of such a thing, she said. So let me share my life expectancy timer with you, let you know how I use it, and how you can implement your own. In fact, I have two timers. They both reside on the same app, appropriately called Countdown. The makers of Countdown are not sponsoring this video, and I suspect that you can find functionally equivalent apps on your preferred app store. It just happens to be the one that I've used for a long time, including to count down to my own retirement. This is the view you see when you open the app. It simply lists all the timers that you have set up. I look at this and the individual timers maybe once a week, maybe once a month. First is my total years timer. This simply shows my remaining life expectancy and reminds me that my time here is limited. Just over 18 years. That's not that long. And if there's one thing I've learned in retirement, it's that time just seems to fly by. Because I'm generally pretty healthy, I'm confident that I can beat this estimate. But as my mother's death has shown, one's health is not the only factor at play here. I don't expect that I'll be able to physically do everything I can do now into my later years. For example, last year in Scotland, I hiked over 80 miles along the Great Glen Way. I'm not sure if I'll be able to do that in my 80s. Thus, I implemented an active years timer. This is simply my remaining life expectancy minus 10 years. This 10-year adjustment is admittedly a crude estimate on my part, but it's one that I hope that if I'm able to maintain my health and fitness, I can adjust as time goes by. For my life expectancy, I use the Social Security Administration's life expectancy calculator. I'll leave a link for it below in the description. Simply enter your sex and your birthday, and it will provide
your remaining life expectancy as well as your total life expectancy. Take this for what it is. It's a gross actuarial estimate based on those two factors alone of how long they think you will live. And thus, it cannot take into account such factors as your individual health history, your family health history, or risks related to your lifestyle, such as how much you smoke, how much you drink, or whether you're still base jumping. You can also use the John Hancock Life Expectancy Calculator. I'll leave a link below in the description for that as well. In addition to some basic information, your sex, your age, your height, and your weight, this also asks for some health-related information regarding your cholesterol levels and your high blood pressure. It also asks for some lifestyle-related questions: how much you drink, how often you exercise, and how many tickets you've had in the last 6 months. Given this additional information, you might think that it would be a more accurate estimate. In my case, however, I found that it wasn't significantly different than the Social Security Administration's life expectancy. So there it is. You too can implement your own life expectancy timer using whichever life expectancy estimate that you prefer, as well as a countdown timer. I know, you may think it's morbid. I understand. But for me, it's like a splash of cold water in my face. It's a reality check reminding me that my time here is limited and not to waste it. So let me know in the comments if you use such a tool or if you think it's just too morbid or strange. It's okay. It works for me.